Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Banner Buzz, our news podcast. I'm Keith Domke, the managing editor of the Banner Press, and I thank you for taking some time to join us today. And I'd also like to welcome my special guest, the Communications and Public Relations Manager for the City of Brenham, Melinda Gordon. Melinda, thank you. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy woman, and
thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to our visit. Before we get started, I would like to thank our sponsors, Mark and Mary Troth. We appreciate you partnering with us and helping us to make this podcast possible. So, Melinda, when I bring people in, the first question I usually ask, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who you are and what makes Melinda Gordon Melinda Gordon.
How long do you have?
Well, we've got a few minutes here, so the mic is yours.
Well, let me start with fifth generation dairy farm girl. Come from born and raised in Tomball, Texas.
Okay.
Family generational farm. Also have strong ties here in Brenham. I think a great grandfather is on the wall of the Washington County Courthouse. So,
okay.
So long ties to the community, which is why I loved coming back here and now putting some roots down. But married 29 years to district chief at the Houston Fire Department. Have a daughter that's a senior at Texas A&M.
Oh.
And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a son that just promoted to corporal in the United States Marines.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, good.
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations
Thank
on both.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. So then how did you end up in Brenham, and then how long have you been here?
Yeah, so there's the family, and career-wise, 29 years, I guess, in the business. Put my age out there now.
So you started when you were 10?
I started when I was 8.
8, okay, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Maybe 7.5.
Okay.
So out of college, I went to Texas Tech University, had a full scholarship in agriculture, so I went the ag communication route, and then got my master's in corporate training and development from U of H. So from Lubbock, came back to Houston, to the Tomball area, got my master's, worked a couple places, ended up starting my own business in technical writing, training, and documentation. And
that didn't sound like a whole lot of fun, but
the clients were more fun than the work.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I did that for 13 years.
Wow. Okay.
Sold the business, really wanted something completely different. So I did. I took 2 years and was certified as a life and business coach.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, did that for about 7 years, and then got the bug again for writing and communications and PR and everything that did for the 13 years. So did some contract work, and friend of a friend of a friend talked about the Brenham job, and that's not that far from where we were living. So yeah, the drive wouldn't be too bad. So I applied. It was actually a perfect fit because it was a culmination of, all of the years of things that I had done in the past into one job. So it was, and the people again were fantastic. So that's kind of how I ended up here. And we were living in Cypress at the time. So I was driving back and forth.
Okay.
And, call it a God moment, but my daughter was unhappy in the Cy-Fair schools. My parents had just moved to Belleville. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks later, here we are buying a house in Belleville and still here.
Okay.
So my drive, my commute went from an hour and 10 minutes to about 17.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Yeah, a lot better. a lot better. So then when did you start working for the city?
I've been there 6 years. So
6 years?
2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you enjoy what you do?
I do. Every day is different.
Well, and you're good at what you do.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. So communications and public relations. I mean, when you hear that, certain things come to all our minds and so forth. Me as a career newspaper guy, very familiar with that. But I know that includes a lot of duties and responsibilities. Can you kind of spell all that out, what you're responsible for the city? In generic terms.
Yeah. Again, every day is different. Some days I'm doing press releases, community visits. Some days I'm doing all website and social media. Depends on the crisis of the moment, I guess, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Some days I'm working with the mayor on a speech for an upcoming event. Some days we're working on PowerPoints for state of the community. Some days it's crisis communication planning and working with the first responders of how that works with us. Some days it's working with council and budget planning and stuff like that. So it really, an array, as you know.
Sure. And like you said, no day really is the same.
And we are only a 2-people department. So we, tag team a lot of things.
Sure. And so you kind of, well, not kind of, you do the public relations and communications work, or at least help with all departments in the city, all, whether it's police or fire or the mayor or...
Right. So everything that goes out to the community comes through me.
Okay.
So
you're the point person.
I am. So I'm internal communications and I'm external.
Okay.
So wear both hats.
Sure. Okay. So, like you said, you really don't have a typical day. And that's one of the reasons we enjoy what we do.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of do the same things, but every day is different and brings its own challenges and enjoyment.
Which is why I love the job.
Yep. Me too. So you said you do both internal and external communication. So let's talk a minute about internal communications. So, you communicate then with, I don't know if it's with department heads or with everybody,
It depends. Yes,
yeah.
Some things are.
How kind of does that process work on the internal side?
It's a evolving process because we are always trying to get better at it, right? Because our main priority is the community and the people. But we also have to inform our own, right? Because what we don't want to happen, and what was happening before, is our own employees were reading your paper and finding out things going on within the city. So we're like, wait, we need to tell our people too, right? So in the last 6 years, we've really been trying to do better at informing our people of what's going on, whether that's, there are some things I send emails to all users. And then there's some things that department heads comes from either Carolyn Miller, city manager, or the mayor or myself to the department heads, and then they disseminate the information. But it depends on what it is.
Sure. And I'm sure just even doing that keeps you busy. Maybe it would be a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to the external part yet,
right.
Where you work with us and inform us and so forth. So, but again, communications director, public relations, I think it's one of the most important positions in a business or an entity, organization, the city, whatever it is, because you are then the liaison or the point person between the city
and the people
and the community.
Yes.
I mean, not only, people like us, the media, but everybody, what you post on Facebook and the website and all that kind of stuff. So when information then needs to be released, and maybe we can even use the example, earlier this week, you informed us that Police Chief Lloyd Powell is going to retire around the end of the month, beginning of April, and so forth. And so how did how does the process go for you? Did Chief Powell tell you, or, just give us a kind of a rundown of how that process works from step A to step Z.
Sure. And then I'd love to go back to social media and working with the individual people, because that's come a long way in 6 years. So Chief Powell, I believe he officially gave his notice to city manager Carolyn Miller. And then I guess they discussed their the time frame and what that looks like and those details. And then Carolyn contacts me and says, Chief Powell has put in for his retirement. An exact date is not known, so he thinks right now mid-April.
Okay.
So we need a press release for that. That's about all I get. Right. So I draft something up. Hopefully by the time it gets back to Chief Powell and Carolyn, there's a little more detail.
Well, yeah, you included in the press release like how many years he had been a police
right, and that's me. That I researched that. Right, I researched that and put together as much as I can before it goes back to them. So there's little work for them to do in just filling in some of the holes.
Sure.
And then that, of course, goes to you guys, and you get it out to the people.
Well, and then at the same time, you put it on Facebook and the website and all that too. Also, for those who don't read the newspaper or those who follow you on social media and all, they're getting the information as soon as you have it ready for release.
Right. And I can say, in all honesty, that you get it. It goes on Facebook. It goes on the website, all within about 6 minutes of each other.
Okay.
Because we do it all at the same time, or we'll forget.
Sure. Yeah, I know how that goes. I'll do this later, and then all of a sudden.
No, right. So in the two people, Kevin Bogus is the other one in our department, and he has when things like this go out, he has his job, I have mine, and within just a few minutes, it's out to everybody. So it's not we hold it for a certain amount of time and then send it to you guys. No, it goes out to our employees, the website, social media, council, all within that time frame.
Well, and then you also, because we do it a lot of times, you have to be prepared then for follow-up questions.
For sure. There were several hours of the calls after the press release from Chief Powell. Sure. But that's to be expected, and it's okay.
Well, it's part of the job.
It's part of the job, yep. And we, the city, not me too, but the city truly values transparency, and we will give everything that we know without giving harm or someone's privacy. It's and that's what I did with those phone calls. I gave all the information that I knew. And, and very honest in saying, when I know more, we'll give it.
Well, and that kind of leads me to my next question. It's being a career journalist, I've worked with public relations and communications people for decades, and it's always been interesting to me from a journalist standpoint that in what information can be released and what maybe can't be released yet and what maybe will never be released.
Right.
I've worked with municipalities that release more information than others, and it's certainly a choice per entity of how they operate and what they want to release and not want to release. But and you talked about transparency, and of course you're trying to be as transparent as you can, but still follow the rules, So, and from our standpoint, then we're trying to get the most and detailed, correct, factual information out there, and so we may do a little digging of our own and so forth too, and to come up with the best story that we can that has the most information in the most timely fashion, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you take all that into consideration, knowing that maybe, well, probably in a lot of instances, we're going to call you or text you or whatever and say, hey, what about this? Can you tell us more about this? How do you factor all that in when you decide what you can release and what you can't?
Yeah. So it's one of those things you have to do in your mind in the very beginning and then along the way, right? For instance, let's just talk about PD for a minute. There's rules there of age and privacy and things like that they can't. So that's a no-brainer for me. because it's the rules of, they're under 18, names can't be released, things
Sure,
like that, right?
sure.
Everything else, it truly is. We will tell if it doesn't harm the person, or if they've asked us to respect some part of privacy.
Okay.
We honor that. Now you may dig, and they may change their mind a month later and say, you know what, that really doesn't matter, and then you get a little more.
Sure.
It's not that they ask us at whatever that might be. So it's all taken into account. We give everything that we know at the time.
Okay.
And sometimes we do come back and we say, you know what, here's version 2.
Yeah,
because
and
we
you've done
found
that
out a whole lot
with
more.
us. So, yeah.
And sometimes you guys ask us questions that either we didn't have or we didn't even think about,
Right.
and then we can give that answer because we didn't think about putting it in the press release. So it's not that we were hiding it. Well, we didn't even think about that.
Sure. And then, of course, there's the situations, like what we call the breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a fire, a power outage, or something that affects the city's operations or whatever, or just an information type thing.
Right.
Where, sometimes late at night or after hours or even during hours, you all of a sudden we get a text from you that says such and such is happening at such and such a place, and you just give us 2 or 3 sentences at first because
That's
it's a
all I
breaking
know.
situation.
Right.
And then, of course, that's what leads then to a lot of follow-up
Yes.
questions from the media, and including us. How bad is it?
Right. So how that works is as you probably are too, I'm on 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 2 a.m. and I'm asleep and the phone dings, I've got to get up and take it, right? Because it's
Right.
it's the community is possibly at risk.
Sure.
So how those situations work is I'll get a text or a call from police chief or fire chief or Carolyn or mayor,
Mm-hmm.
whomever.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's police chief or fire chief, and it is 2 or 3 sentences. Hey, we need to get this out here. This is where I'm at. This is what's going on. I'll call you in 10 minutes. That's when I text you guys saying, hey, heads up, this is where they are. And sometimes, you take it and somebody goes and reports.
Sure.
And sometimes you wait, depending on the situation.
Right.
So those things are, on the fly as well.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, sometimes it is in the middle of the night. I'm sure we could share war stories about things we've had to do in the middle of the night during our careers and so forth. But it's just all part of the job we have to do, especially today with social media.
Right.
How that is just added to the immediacy of a situation.
Right. And which is a whole different animal in itself.
No, I'm sure. Yeah.
We thought reporting was hard.
yeah, and of course, then we both have to deal with untrue things. Then, but that's not worth us taking time in our conversation. But yeah, so sometimes it's really a thankless job because you're
for sure.
You're doing nothing but working on a situation and working kind of both ends of the, you're trying to get as much as you can from the fire department or whatever, and then you're trying to get as much as you're getting sometimes even badgered by us, in a friendly way.
Right, absolutely.
But so we can both do our jobs. So sometimes it's kind of tough being that middleman or middlewoman.
Yeah, and I think probably the best thing that I did years and years ago, and the best advice you will probably agree that I can give young journalists is you will never please everyone.
Of course.
No matter if I give a little, if I give a lot, there's always going to be someone or a group or whomever that wants more, wants less. I should have said this. I shouldn't have said this. So you do your very best every single time, and
oh yeah,
it's
we get the phone calls like you do. So yeah. So switching gears a little bit, I know a lot of what you do is depending on what happens, what the city council does, what the mayor does, and so forth and so on. But are there some things going on that you've caught wind of, or that you're already working on coming up with, like the rest of this year, that you're kind of excited about being able to pass along that information? I'm not trying to get the cat out of the bag here, but are there things that already are kind of out there that you're excited about as 2025 continues?
A lot of things, because as you know, the city is constantly evolving in good ways. But I think the most exciting thing for me is the fire station too.
Sure.
And I think there's a buzz around the city that people are just excited.
Sure.
Because this has been way before me, right? Has been on the books of we need it. Okay, we're going to get it. Not going to get it. Well, we're going to get it, but I don't know when we're going to get it. And to actually have now, I think I sent you, if not, it's coming out today, that March 24th is the actual groundbreaking.
Okay.
9 a.m.
Must be coming today.
Open to the public.
I don't think we got it.
Okay, yeah. So just a quick, informal groundbreaking. But then when the fire station opens, we'll have the official with the chamber, ribbon cutting, things like that. But I would have to say that's the buzz.
Well, and it's exciting news, and we're looking forward to following that as well as you feed it to us. I think I would agree that, there's, like you said, there's just a lot of things going on, and you're going to get pulled in different directions and all that. But that's really got to be top of the list. I would agree with you. So then, is your favorite part of the job just the diversity? How every day's, like
really
we said, you're kind of doing the same thing, but it's always different.
Yes.
You're working over here or over here, and
because it keeps things interesting and exciting, and just the people. And I was going to say earlier, social media has become a almost more than half of our job, right? Because everybody's on it. When I started 6 years ago, there were, I think, 72 people following the City of Brenham Facebook page. Yeah. We're almost to 8,000, in a population of like 16, right? 15 and some change. So it's come a long way, but we also take it very personally to respond to every message and every comment.
Oh, you do?
We do.
Wow.
Because
you don't need to expand your staff a little bit?
Hey, we don't respond to every comment.
Oh, I know.
Question. Because every comment would have to, it'd be a dialogue in itself.
Yes,
but if there's a question asked, we answer it, because that's an avenue for us. It's one less phone call into the city that maybe they may not get the right department. Right. Maybe they are, they don't want to come into City Hall. If we can answer that and get it taken care of while in the comfort of the home, right?
So much the better.
Yes. Yes. So a win for everyone.
Yep. So as we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself, the city, or your role in the community? And just any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think if you have doubts about the city and the people and the leadership of the City of Brenham, worry no more. It truly is it's a great place to work. And I can say, from the mayor, city manager, council, leadership team, everybody is top notch and truly has a heart for the citizens of Brenham.
Well, it's always good to hear. We see that from our vantage point at the newspaper, and again, I think you do a terrific job, and I really appreciate the working relationship we have, and that we can kind of count on each other. So thank you. Publicly, thank you.
We're all in it together.
We are. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And so forth. So you've been watching the Banner Buzz podcast. Again, I'm Keith Domke, the managing editor of the newspaper, and this is just one of the many ways we we continue to be Washington County's leading news and information source. I'd like to again thank my guest, Melinda Gordon of the city of Brenham, Public Relations and Communications. Again, keep up the good work.
Thank
it's
you.
Always a pleasure to work with you, and it's just a blessing.
Thank you.
So
goes both ways. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and. I'd also like to thank our sponsors one more time, Mark and Mary Truff. You folks rock. Thank you for helping make this possible. And to watch our podcast, it's very simple. You just click on our webpage, www.brenhambanner.com, click on that podcast button. And I'd also like to take a minute or so to mention that we are in the process of starting something new and really something we really think is exciting. It's a Rising Stars 20 under 40 recognition. And we're going to actually put together a special magazine that will include 20 of these rising stars that are just doing phenomenal things in our community, whether in Brenham or Burton, the county, Chapel Hill, anywhere in the county. So again, that's going to be a special publication released in June. And we're currently taking nominations for those rising stars until April 11th. So you still got, good 3 weeks to nominate people. And the criteria is the person has to be between 18 and 39 and making an impact in Washington County. You can get the nomination form on our website. We put it in the paper as often as we can, and we also have actual print copies of it here at the newspaper office. So again, please, there's so many people out there that you can nominate, and please join us in celebrating the young, dedicated workers we have. And I know there's some of those at the city.
Sure.
They're all over the place, and so we're really excited about this project, and hope you come on board, and we're going to really make this a big deal. So thank you. If you've already helped, we've received. I think we're past a half dozen nominations already that have been turned in, so that's great. And finally, before we let you go for the day, I'd like to thank everybody who subscribes to the paper. Thank you for being a part of our family. If you're not, it's very easy to do. You just pick up the phone and call 979-836-7956. Again, that number, 979-836-7956, and we'll be happy to take care of you and add you to our growing family. And it's really a inexpensive way to keep up with what's going on in the city and the county. And again, it's thanks to people like Melinda Gordon who allow us to share that information with you and to be your messenger. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.
Don't forget about the Rising Stars. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you next time. Take care.